This is what we do, is we send care packages to full units that are deployed overseas. Care packages of sunscreen and candy and handwritten letters from children across this nation to let them know that what they do matters and that they're remembered. That is what A Soldier's Hands does. So this morning at coffee, Pam asked if I would share my story about A Soldier's Hands with the other guests of Profit Plan Live. And so I did. So in order to tell that story, I have to go back to August of 2007. I was in Dallas, Texas on a business trip, and I was trying to fly home to Philadelphia. And there were all these storms going through the area, and our flight was delayed. And then there were all these people that wanted to go standby. There were probably a couple dozen, and they asked if I would be willing to get off the flight, and I declined. And for some reason during the week, I changed my flight. So I moved my seat just to be a little bit closer to the front. And when it was all said and done, and we finally boarded this flight about 3.5 hours later, there was one empty seat on the plane. And I was by the window, the middle seat was empty, and the aisle seat, there was a young man looked like Opie, reminded me of Opie of Andy Griffin. And because that middle seat was empty, it gave us the opportunity to talk. And I immediately noticed that his hands were a mess. The tops were sunburned, the bottoms had these huge whelps that looked really painful. I got him hand cream, and he was so appreciative for this. He used the whole tube, and it was as if I had given him $1 million because it meant so much to him and it helped him. So in our conversation, because the middle seat was empty, he shared that he was a student at Auburn University. He'd been pulled out. He was going to school on an ROTC scholarship through the Guard, and his number had been called up. So he was in Texas trying to get acclimated to the heat, and then he was on his way to Iraq, 19 years old. He shared with me that he was a Christian, and he wasn't concerned about dying, but what he was really concerned was the heat and the sun. He had already had a difficult time in Texas, so he said, how am I going to handle Iraq? He explained to me he was third generation military. He got the drill on as much as he knew what to expect. He felt he was prepared, but again, he was concerned about being sunburned. So I offered to send him sun care. You know what, I can do that. I can take care of that. And he said to me, he said one thing to me, and he said, you know, I appreciate that offer. He said, I can't accept it though. He said, I know that not everyone in my unit will receive a mail call, and so I would feel uncomfortable receiving that, knowing that not everyone would. And so I said, I'll send you 100, I'll send you one for everyone in your unit. How many's in your unit? And he said 177. And I thought, oh my word, you know, what have I committed to? So I got home and I told everyone I knew. I said, I made a promise to this young man. Can you please help me fulfill it? And so we did. And Thanksgiving Day, 2007, he emailed me. It was the best Thanksgiving present I certainly could have gotten. And he explained to me, he said, I got to be Santa Claus today. He said, I knew when all those boxes arrived that there would be one for everyone in my unit. And he said, you have to know that there are grown men here crying because they never received anything prior to that. And I thought, oh my goodness, we have to do it again. And so we did. And then someone in that unit re-enlisted, Glenn re-enlisted. And he said, do you think you could send some to our unit? And then do you think you could send some to my buddy's unit? And that's how the domino kind of dropped. And so then people would contact me, and they wouldn't even know how they got my number, but they heard that I was the lady that sent care packages to the troops. Could I help them? And so if you fast forward to 2013, a sergeant major from Fort Hood reached out to me, and he said, you know, do you think you could send care packages to our unit? And I got smart and I said, how many's in your unit? I didn't want to commit to something without knowing that ahead of time. And he said, oh honey, you better sit down. He said, it's a big one, a battalion, and there were 800 members in that unit. And I said, you know, I can't commit to that right now. I will have to pray on that, and I'll have to go back to the people that have supported this and see if that's something that we feel that we can do. Because I learned in the process that if we couldn't send 800, we weren't going to send one. We were going to make sure that everyone was covered. And so I went back to those that had supported us in the last 6 years, and they said, we've got this. With God, all things are possible. Don't worry how, just get going. And so that is what we did. And I really thought that we would retire, that I couldn't think bigger than 800, and that was a lot. And how would I don't know how to fundraise, and how will we do it, and all the questions. But in the end, we did do it, and we decided to become a nonprofit. So we became a corporation in the state of Pennsylvania, and then we became a 501c3, so that we have all the incentives that a charity does. And then this is what we do, is we send care packages to full units that are deployed overseas. And so currently we are working on the USS Reagan. It is a battle carrier ship of 3,200 sailors. And that is big. But I know that God wouldn't put that in our heart if we couldn't somehow be able to fill the gap and cover everyone on that ship. And so that is our mission, unit by unit, is to send full, entire units, care packages of sunscreen and candy and handwritten letters from children across this nation, to let them know that what they do matters and that they're remembered. That is what A Soldier's Hand does. Thank you.